Hello and welcome back to the port. I'm the Gav Major, and this is a review of the Tier 6 Alternative Tech Tree battleship North Carolina, recently introduced to the United States Navy. Now, this is a Tier 6 and 7 game of capture the base on land or fire. On the enemy team, we have an Akatsuki, a Mass, a Littoral, a New Orleans, a Hipper, and a Garter, a Bismarck, a Georgia, and a Massachusetts. Now, all of those battleships are 15-inch guns and higher. Basically, my bow and my stern armour can be overmatched by all their battleships, so that's something worth noting straight off the bat, I guess you could say. It's going to affect how we play this game. So, regarding a little bit of history, I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet because obviously there is an alternative video you can go check out. So, North Carolina is the lead class of her, or lead ship of her class, which was a class of fast battleships built by the United States within the constraints of the Second London Navy Treaty, following obviously the Washington Naval Treaty and the First London Naval Treaty. She was launched in 1940 and commissioned in 1941. She served throughout the Second World War, serving in both the European and Pacific theatres. The interesting one was when she was in the European theatre, she was positioned in such a way to counter the Tirpitz should the Tirpitz ever break out. That never was the case, the stars never aligned, but that would have been quite an interesting situation for the North Carolina Tirpitz to face off, I guess you could say. I can't believe I've just done that to a Nagato at the start of the game. We might see if we can get a quick follow-up volley on it. Ideally that's what we want. We can follow that up. It should obviously put our team at a nice advantage. So we're going to do a follow-up volley on Nagato, which is continuing to stay broadside on. Oh, not quite, but that's a good start to the game, I'm going to have to confess. Anyway, so yes, she was decommissioned in 1947, and she was saved from the Scrapper's Torch in 1960, where she then went on to become a museum ship, and obviously is based in the state of North Carolina to this day. Now, Dragon Finale has done one of his lovely 5-minute guides, which will be carded top right now, but also will be on the end screen, and that is 7 minutes and 17 seconds long. So, in comparison to her Tech Tree counterparts, the Tech Tree Tier 6 battleships, well, survivability-wise, she has the second lowest base HP, which is 58,000. We would like to just take advantage of that situation, I think. Now, she does have the second best HP pool though, which is 90,088 HP, which is quite nice. Now, she also has the joint best torpedo reduction, which is 13%, and when it comes to the armour scheme, it's always best to go back to the port and take a look at the armour scheme in the port. Hello and welcome back to the port. So we're taking a look at the armour scheme of the North Carolina, starting off with the superstructure, 60mm all over. It's getting larger is the best way to put it. Your highest armoured point is basically on the foremast, and yeah, just the usual HE low AP caliber harvestable section of the ship. Moving on to the let's do the Torpedo Bulge. I guess it's worth noting the location of the Torpedo Bulge is all amidships, covering from Y turret to A turret. That's the location of your torpedo reduction. Outside of that, you will be taking full-on torpedo damage. It's only 60mm plating, but I guess it's one of those probably like fuel and water zones in which to basically absorb the impact of a torpedo. Going on to the bow and the stern, this is 25mm plating all over, sufficient to ricochet 14-inch AP. Anything larger than that will be punching through your nose. What's behind that? Well, your upper armoured belt is, actually in general all your armoured belt is part of your casement armour. The upper armoured belt is sufficient to ricochet 16-inch AP along with the guns of the Georgia. Lower armoured belt should be sufficient to ricochet guns of all caliber. Your deck armour is sufficient to ricochet pretty much everything as well, but obviously plunging shots are going to be coming straight down to that. It's worth noting that at the front, behind the bow and the stern, the upper armor belt is only 26mm or 25mm thick, sufficient to ricochet 14-inch guns, and the lower part's obviously that thicker armored belt. Taking that away, let's look at the turrets. Turrets are coated in big thick armor all over. You can't really complain about that. So again, it's just down to RNG what kind of things happen to those turrets. Citadel is at the waterline. It's long. It's basically covering from Y turret to A turret. The central part of it is the interesting part. That's only like 13mm thick. So any plunging AP that is able to punch through your deck armor or your upper armored belt potentially could go through that into your citadel. So your central part of your citadel is quite exposed. So obviously, if you're shooting in North Carolina, you want to be that's broadside on. You want to try and get your shells to land amidships because then it's going to have the path of least resistance into the citadel. Otherwise, it seems alright. I mean, it's got good plating on either ends. It's generally plated well all over. But really, the main part of your armor you're going to be relying on is going to be the casement armor. And whether you're angling that against 16-inch guns or whether you're going to be potentially battle tanking against 14-inch guns, because obviously as a tier 6, there's quite a few 14-inch gun battleships at tier 5 and tier 6. There's also a couple of there's the Scharnhorst with her 11-inch guns, but then also you do have quite a few 15 and 16-inch guns at like tier 6, some at tier 5 and also tier 7. So it's all potentially swings and roundabouts, and you just need to make a note of what's on the enemy team. But all in all, it seems like a reasonable armor scheme. Well, let's get back to the game. So welcome back, and on to the artillery. So she's got 9 16-inch guns in 3 treble gun turrets. We have A turret with B turret super firing up front, and then we have Y turret at the rear. Now these do have the joint shortest range of 15.9 kilometers and the joint second longest reload time of 32 seconds. They also have the joint second best turret reverse speed, which is 45 seconds per 180 degrees of rotation. When it comes to the shells, you are looking at having an above average HE shell damage of 5,700, an average fire chance of 36%, and the best AP shell damage of 13,100. Now, when it comes to the DPM wise, you're looking at having the 4th worst HE DPM and also the 4th worst fires per minute, but you do have the 3rd best AP DPM, which is quite nice. Maneuverability, you are looking at... Oh, Georgia's firing on me. Oh no, it's New Orleans, is it? New Orleans and a Bismarck. Okay, that's not too bad actually. I think we should... Obviously we're going to keep getting picked up by aircraft. But I hope that should work. Maneuverability, average speed of 27 knots, 3rd best turning circle of 760 meters, but she does have the worst rudder shift. That's something to bear in mind. Not going to be very kitey. Concealment wise, you'll best by sea, best detectability by sea, also best detectability by air as well. So by sea you're looking at 14.4 kilometers, by air you're looking at 11.5 kilometers. You also have an above average detectability when firing from smoke, which is 13.9 kilometers. Can we pick this target out? Also noting the tower bell. Okay.
The ship is on fire.
Ooh, okay, she's very kitey. Okay, that's alright. Now, when it comes on to the consumables, you have 3 repair parties. These will heal 382 HP per second for 28 seconds, and the repair party has an 80-second reload. What that should mean is that each repair party should heal somewhere in the region of 10,696 HP. When it comes to your damage control party, you've got the obvious American damage control party, which has a 20-second duration and a 80-second reload. For your other consumable, you can take either 3 number of the following: fighters, spotter aircraft, or enhanced secondary targeting. Modules wise, the commander build is always going to be down in the description. However, for those of you who are interested, for the modules, I've taken AA Guns Module 2, Steering Gears Module 2, and Target Acquisition Systems Module 1. We are now going to get focused, because obviously that's the joys of the game, now that the rest of the team seems to have collapsed. However, might see if we can mulch up some of this Georgia before things go south. But I think we're just going to have to go guts or glory at the moment. We've tried to obviously conserve our position on the map, but it's it's just got to that point in the game where it's time to get focused and killed, I guess you could say. Massachusetts should be reasonably fast. When it comes to the traits of the ship, it's quite interesting. She's got sticky shot, which means that she should have better AP shell angles. Apparently she's agile, but the only agile thing about her is probably her turning circle. Here you're probably going to see the pure overmatch from the Georgia. Yeah, there you go. So there's not really much we could do in that game. Teams just started to collapse, but we managed to get a really nice kill on the Nagato at the start there. So the North Carolina, a 16-inch gun battleship at tier 6, with sufficient armour to counter 14-inch guns from the front and stern. She can angle against things like 15 and 16-inch guns and the 18-inch guns of the Georgia. However, she's still going to have a very exposed nose, I guess you could say. Oh, North Carolina's just snapped in half. Well, depending how long this game takes to drag out, we might, I don't know, like, opinions on the North Carolina. Again, she doesn't quite feel like a ship for me. She does seem very good AP. That has to be said. That is completely uncontested. She seems to have a very wide stance. If you want to bring all 3 turrets to bear onto a target, you do have to be quite a wide stance. And if you're up against anything that's American, then it's probably going to be able to actually almost treat your armor as if it's broadside on, so that can hurt. So she's not very good at being static. I find that if she's static, it's easy for enemy battleships to pick out her nose armor and take advantage of that. Furthermore, because your wide stance, if you're going to sit there, you can't really sit there with all 3 turrets on target. You can only really battle tank things with like 14-inch guns and less. She can be a bit of a kiter, but I find that rudder shift does mean that she ends up being if you're kiting in and out to bring the extra turret on board, you can find yourself abroad for just a little bit too long. It really does take some practice with the rudder just to get that kiting in and out, but unfortunately this game, obviously it was a bit static. I managed to like get behind an island to take advantage of the position, but then the game just kind of like collapsed out everywhere else on the map, and ended up in a situation where it was, well, had to do something, and managed to get 106,000 damage out of it, which I can't complain about. 5 citadels, all of which I believe were against the Nagato. 32 hits on target, and obviously getting a kill on Nagato and First Blood. Team-wise, coming second on the team, which is fair enough. I did do quite a lot of damage to a single ship, which obviously is going to be worth quite a lot of points wise, and I assume the Akatsuki managed to torpedo a single target as well, hence our very high scores. Economy wise, walking away with a total profit of 110,000 credits after a ship service cost of 115,000 credits. That is obviously with a premium count and a credit booster, common credit booster, which has increased my earning potential. but it is just a tech tree tier 6. All in all, I don't mind her, but if I'm going to play tier 6 battleships, I'm probably going to pick something else, really. It's just a playstyle thing or a taste thing, but I'm sure she's going to be of interest to some people. I can see her being quite strong with those 16-inch guns. It's just potentially those weaknesses with the rudder shift and her broad stance, I guess you could say. Well, if you have enjoyed this review, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you enjoy this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. Down in the description is the command build and the ship modules, along with the email address for the channel if you want to send in any of your own game captures for the community spotlight video, and also the link to Patreon if you want to support the channel on Patreon. I'd like to say thank you to all the patrons and all the subscribers, and until next time, I'm the Gav Major, and back to the port.
Hey, hey, clear the way, here comes the galloping Major. Bumpity, 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 bump. Get out of the way there, you fellows, unless you want me to run you down. I guess this is the life. Now, hey, hey, clear the way, here comes the galloping